Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay. Yeah, I wanted to do this short little video on who you guys think, for those of you who are WWE fans, is going to win the Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank has, for the past 15 years, has been uh, well, 14 years, has been an exciting part of wrestling. It's kind of like the new version of the Royal Rumble. Even before it was its own pay per view, when it was a part of WrestleMania, it was exciting. It's 20 years now that it's been a part of WrestleMania, and it's a chance to make a new star, to make somebody instantly, right? We've seen it be successful in that way, instantly making somebody. Edge is a perfect example in 2005. It took him to the next level. But and that's what I think will be the case with Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa, he flirted somewhat with the main event in 2024. The times that Roman wasn't there, holding it down with his own bloodline. And going from that enforcer role, he was Roman's enforcer, and then he brought Jacob Fatu in to be his enforcer. But funny because the guy he brought in was the guy that surpassed him in a lot of ways. He brought in Jacob, and Jacob surpassed him. Jacob is one of the most over superstars in the WWE. People are looking at three different guys for being the future of the WWE: Dominic Mysterio, Jacob Fatu, and Bron Breakker, all from Wrestling Legacies. And Solo is too, but Solo is a little bit above that. You got JC Mateo, aka Jeff Cobb, made his debut in Backlash, kind of brought him in as a new enforcer, given that he has history with Jacob on the Indies, and they changed his name immediately. People are upset about the name, JC Mateo. To me, I like the name JC Mateo better than Jeff Cobb. When he first came out, it was the match LA Knight and Jacob in the four-way against Damian Priest and and Drew. I was like, who the hell's this guy? You know what I mean? I never saw him in the Indies. I never watched Lucha Underground or AEW or PWG, obviously. None of the places that he was in. Didn't know really anything about him. And they introduced him as a new enforcer type character for the Bloodline. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. But I say for the men's Money in the Bank, Jacob Fatu. Because that's, Solo Sikoa, which will lead to a match with himself and Jey Uso, his brother. Or maybe when Rollins captures the World Heavyweight Championship, which he inevitably will, it will be Solo Sikoa and Seth Rollins going against each other. And of course, there's history there with Heyman and the Bloodline. Then you turn you have him blame Jacob Fatu for his loss, and that's when you have your babyface turn for Jacob Fatu, which everybody is begging for. And in that time, you have the Bloodline going against the Dangerous Alliance with a little bit of brushing between Bron Breakker and Jacob Fatu. That's how I would book it. So I would have Solo Sikoa win the Money in the Bank again for the men's division. For the women's division, okay, many people are saying Charlotte Flair because they want to see, for some reason, they want to see a rematch from WrestleMania between herself and Tiffany Stratton. I'm not really for it. I say Alexa Bliss is coming back. She's already back. Why not give her the rub? People remember her fondly with her and Bray Wyatt. The things they did together in the late 2010s. I wouldn't put her with the Wyatt Six only because the Wyatt Six does nothing. Like that's probably the most worthless faction in WWE, right? I mean, you got the Judgment Day hanging on by a thread, the LWO hanging on by a thread, and the Bloodline hanging on by a thread. All three of these factions, nobody's doing really much of anything. They're not really using it to really get anybody over. You know, LWO, when was the last time they got somebody over? You know what I mean? The whole faction is just Rey Mysterio, and that's it, right? Bloodline, pretty much same thing. And for Judgment Day, both these factions, Judgment Day and Bloodline, are hanging on by a thread. Everybody's waiting to see when the next shoe is going to drop between Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio and Jacob Fatu and Solo. So the Wyatt Six is way buried in the dustbin. Nobody's really thinking about them. So I wouldn't bring Alexa Black back for that. I'd just bring her back as Little Miss Bliss. You know, she was very popular. She was one of the shining saving graces of that era of the late 2010s that was really horrible. You know, 2016, 2017, 2017, 2018, 2019, all the way up until 2020. So I'd bring her back. I'd have her win the Money in the Bank. Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte Flair, I kind of put that off and then eventually build to Charlotte Flair versus Jade Cargill, which is what everybody ultimately wants to see. I mean, ultimately they want to see Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill, but first I say book Charlotte versus Jade because they've had their little interactions going up and down the aisle with one another. So book that and see where that goes. So I would have Solo and Alexa Bliss. Those would be my two for the men's division. For the men's division, Solo, and for the women's division, Alexa Bliss. And let me just say that match with Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton on SmackDown, that shit was brutal. I'm watching that back right now. That was a brutal match. Congratulations to Tiffany Stratton for holding her own in that match because that was fucking brutal. Peace, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.